Hey guys, Molten here, back with another rapid game in our series. I've been a little bit under the weather the past few days, so I haven't been able to post as often. But we're back here. Let's start this game out with 1d4, see how we go. So 1c5. Okay, so here white has a couple of different options. I'm just going to transpose straight back into a Smith-Morrow gambit with the move 1e4. Probably will catch my opponent off guard with this one, but if you're a d4 player and you don't know the Smith-Morrow, then you can also capture the pawn. That's also a pretty good line, or you could just push the pawn up to d5 as well. So we go for our normal Smith-Morrow gambit here with c3. So of course he declines it, so we'll go pawn to e5. And now we reach a c3 Sicilian. We can also take with the queen, but let's go knight f3. So yeah, knowing the c3 Sicilian is a very helpful thing, especially if you play the Smith-Morrow, because most of the time when your opponent does decline, which happens a lot more often than you think at the higher levels, then you definitely can easily switch over to this opening. They go hand in hand really, they go quite well together. Here white has the option of bishop c4 or taking the pawn. I tend to prefer just taking the pawn, so let's go for this one. Yeah, so now the main line is pawn to d6, and white has a lot of different ways to play here. I could capture the pawn, I could go bishop c4, which is the main move here. Bishop c4. Okay, let's go for bishop c4. Although I do think pawn takes is also a very good option for those of you who want something relatively simple to play. Yeah, knight here. So the main line is bishop to b5. Go bishop to b5. Now pawn takes, we have two options there. Most people just go knight takes, and after bishop d7, knight takes. Queen takes is a very old line, which is meant to be perfectly fine for white. Bishop g4 though is a move that I have not really seen before. So we know that bishop pawn here, bishop d7 is the main move. So what's wrong with this move? Let's try to work this out. So our immediate response is that we have this move pawn to d5 in the position. And then our opponent will probably play a6. If we take the knight, we take the bishop, we take the pawn. Is that any good for us? Our opponent does have this weak isolated pawn on b5. In terms of pawn structure, I feel like we're doing quite well. Also have h3. Takes. We're attacking the knight. He probably just defends the knight. Maybe even plays d5. I don't really see any other tactics. e6 doesn't work. Pawn takes. So the critical move must be d5 here. So if pawn to d5, pawn to a6, pawn takes, takes, rook moves, we take here. So if he goes queen takes, we take and go into this endgame, which, I mean, at first glance, it doesn't look too bad for us. I can always move my knight to d4 afterwards. Pawn structure looks quite healthy. I don't want to spend too much time on this move either. The other option is just to play a normal move like knight d2. But I want to try and refute this. So we'll play the move pawn to d5. So it goes a6. Okay, we take. We take here. So we get that tempo on the rook. So rook should go to b8. Then maybe we take on d6. Black also can play e6 whenever we capture on d6. Do you have any other moves? So queen e2. Probably not. We'll just take here first. So we won't be up a pawn, like we'll probably lose the pawn back, but pawn structure wise we should be better. That was definitely a mistake. Giving up the bishop voluntarily. Like, it was completely unprovoked. We weren't attacking the bishop at all. Yeah, this is definitely good for white now because we're even protecting the pawn on b7. And we have queen check coming in a lot of different positions where white, after this check, black can't block with the queen because the knight is hanging. And if he blocks with the knight, then we gain a lot of time. Not to mention the b5 pawn is hanging. So it looks very good for white now, I think. And so I'm tempted to just throw in this check right away. I don't see any reason not to. Also forces his pieces to go into a more passive position. So the knight will have to go to d7 now, which allows me time to castle and maybe play rook e8, rook e1. Yeah. Do I have anything better? Can I do this? Try to get in a check. Seems a bit slow. I just castle. Threaten check. So our opponent's about to castle. So we need to create a threat here. Okay, bishop e3, bishop a7. That creates a very strong threat. Also stops queen b6. Okay, so this should win the rook. Okay, so we just take the pawn. The rook is still completely trapped. And yeah, well, we're winning at least the exchange. Okay, good game. Let's have a look at that. So for those of you who played a c3 Sicilian, yeah, that was not a common move. Normally people would just take here. This is a very old line which goes bishop d7, knight takes. White has other options apart from this as well, but yeah, this is one of the main lines. Bishop g4 I haven't seen. So yeah, d5 is correct. So one thing is, whenever your opponent plays a move which is off the beaten track, usually there's a good reason for why this move isn't played very often, and sometimes you just need to spend some time there trying to work it out over the board. And really the only refutation I could see was d5. If you don't try to play d5, then I couldn't really see any way to take advantage of this move. So after the move d5, a6 takes, rook b8. So here we can even go knight c3 castles, but pawn takes d6. So maybe this was slightly inaccurate? Not sure. So that was definitely a mistake. So queen takes would have been better. And then queen e2, queen c6, knight c3. So we have a slight advantage here, but is it enough? It does look quite good for us though, because we have these two passed pawns in the middle game. So this is always going to be very unpleasant. Even if black allows the double pawns here, our position will be very favorable for us, I think, into the middle game. Especially if black can't handle these pawns. But after this one, yeah, I think white is doing very, very well now. And bishop e3 castles, bishop a7. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this game, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.